How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Talk4 Podcast. So excited to have you here today and show you this fantastic episode. Just want to say quickly that episodes like this one and all the ones before and the ones in future are made possible by people who subscribe. Hopefully, just like you. I'm going to ask you today if you can leave a subscribe, leave a follow, leave a rating, leave a like or a comment, and just support the show in the little ways that you can, like that. It makes a huge difference on my end. And quickly, just want to plug as well. I've taken 30 of the best episodes of this podcast and turned them into a fantastic book that goes into 150 secrets to greatness. Each one of those 30 episodes gets crunched down into 5 of the best key takeaways from the whole talk and turns them into a fantastic book. Highly recommend you check it out. Please support the show by grabbing a copy, either a paperback or an ebook. And I can't wait to show you guys this one today. So guys, without further ado, let's get over to the episode. Ben, how you doing today, man? Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Louis. Yeah, it's fun to be here.
It is going to be a really good episode. We've been trying to get this one in for a while, right?
It's been a minute, but we made it.
We certainly have. And this is a long anticipated episode. Super excited to talk about this, and everything that you're doing right now is really, really impressive stuff and fits right in with the show. So let's dig in then. So I'm going to give people a bit of an intro into what we know about you so far, and then you can take that poll and you can kind of go from there and tell us a bit more about yourself after that too then. But Ben Tasker is a recognized leader in AI education, workforce transformation, and responsible AI adoption. From leading a data and AI academy, upskilling 36,000 employees in the public utility sector, to pioneering applied AI programs. As Dean of AI at Southern New Hampshire University, Ben has shaped how individuals and organizations approach AI in practical, ethical, and impactful ways. Ben, sound about right?
That's a very kind intro. Thank you.
Hey, man, I mean, that's the work you've done. It's just accurate to the truth. So, all right, over to you now then. So if you had to kind of describe yourself and what you do, or, that kind of elevator pitch in a minute or two, really, how would you describe what it is you do? I mean, it's a pretty impressive job, right?
Historically, I would have said that I do AI and I'm an AI expert, but a lot of individuals understand what that means, but they have their own definition of it. And that definition, depending on the person, the company, gives you a different image. So now I say I'm a change management person or a transformation management person. In order to use AI to upskill in it, to understand its impact, you have to really create a message around it, communication, change management, transformation. You really have to understand the individuals that you're trying to impact with it. So it's not just implementing Go or instant ROI. This takes an incredible amount of time, much more. I underestimated it in the beginning, and now I'm up to speed. I understand why there's a lot of investment in the change and transformation management side, but it's definitely something a lot of companies can put more time into.
Completely agreed. I mean, it's just one of those things that is massively part of the future now. And, even in what I'm doing with, the gym and public affairs and media and stuff, I mean, it's just creeping into every sector, right? I mean, feels like the dawn of a really brand new age here, really, doesn't it?
So the way I like to think about AI and AI transformations, we're in that awkward time period. It's kind of like when you first start dating someone, kind of like a honeymoon period, but it's that middle period. You're not really out of the pasture, but you're not really into the future yet either. I call it the AI between times. So we're still trying to figure out this AI thing. There's going to be AI screw ups. By screw ups, there's going to be deep fakes. Companies are going to lose money on the investment. We've actually just seen that recently, where one company invested. Actually, a fake CEO called the finance company, and they lost $25 million. So it's not even an implementation story. It's just they didn't know it was fake story, but it's AI relevant, right? So we're in that period where that's going to keep happening. The deep fakes are going to get better. The AI implementations are going to become faster. Individuals and companies are going to feel like they're behind, so they have to keep implementing it. And I think we're going to, even though in the end, we'll really understand why we need to invest in upskilling and reskilling and learning how to use the AI. I think that's because just the rapid time period that we're in and the implementation stage, that's going to be highly undervalued and overlooked. And then these organizations are going to have to figure out how to catch up their workforce to the AI implementation once they actually figure out how to implement it. So yeah, I think that's the middle, and that ends the implementation and getting to the actual AI.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember a few years ago when, social media was a new thing. I mean, it's funny. It's all moved so quickly, but social media became this new thing. And it's funny how we saw this, obviously, recline of a lot of companies that didn't get on social media and they missed this massive trick. And there's a lot of kind of like the older generation who just didn't understand it, didn't get it, didn't believe in it. And it feels like AI is kind of that new era of that, or the next version of that kind of social media wave, really. At least that's how I see it. I mean, in your opinion, obviously with the work that you do and stuff as well, would you agree in saying that if companies who didn't jump on the social media thing aren't prepared now to jump on the AI thing, they're just going to get completely left behind, even worse than the social media era?
So most transformations, not just social media, but similar transformations, each transformation happens a little bit faster because I think there's more people, so there's more adoption up front. It's the S curve. So there's more people willing to take the risk up front. AI is just in a time period where there's the most amount of people, and there's a large bubble around it. And maybe bubble's not the best word, but there's a lot of news. There's a new AI tool every day. By the end of this podcast, every 30 minutes, there's a new AI shiny bauble that goes out into the market. It's a very interesting time period. But it's not so much investing into the AI and making sure that you're up to speed to make your company relevant. It's making sure that you're thinking about your AI as an entire system. So, for example, if you want to implement AI in your customer service department, you have to think about how you're going to train the customer service agents to use the AI, what processes that AI is going to automate, what what systems feed into those processes. So the project's growing, right? Like those are three things that most people may not think of initially. What kind of security do you have? Do you have a responsible AI framework? Who's accountable for if the AI messes up? Is it the company that implemented it? Is it the large language model company that designed it? Is it the company that purchased it? Right? There's three owners right there. So this transformation period, digital media is one thing, but AI has so many twists and turns with it. It has high personalization rates. It can make it seem like it's real, like you can engage with it. It has high likelihood of failure just because us humans don't know. We think we're implementing a regular tech stack, and this isn't anything that we've seen before. It gets better all the time, so you're constantly having to update it. And not just that, but update the training around it, which then leads into workforce and the change management piece, the true transformation. How is the company well positioned to make sure that once it spends all this money and gets to the implementation stage, that it can actually do the thing? It has the processes mapped out and the employees are aware of it. If just the customer service agents are trained on it, but the finance department doesn't know, if if all of IT doesn't know, if your legal department may not know, those could be some risks down the road.
Definitely, completely agreed there. Let's draw it back then to the very beginnings of this for you. So I think it would be really interesting to look at the backstory and what obviously inspired you to go down this career path then. So a career that spans AI research, education, and practical workforce transformation. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what inspired you to focus on AI and how your early experiences shaped your approach to teaching and building AI programs? Take it away, Ben.
I love this question because I didn't realize it at the time, but the reason why I got into AI is because of the lack of a skill that I had. So I graduated from undergrad with healthcare management policy. I thought I wanted to run a hospital. There was some qualitative skills attached to that degree. I did have a little bit of coding, but it was really my lack of data literacy that made me want to go into AI. So one of the first projects I got at graduation was trying to assess if physician doctors' offices needed to be closed. So I had to look at patient volumes. That might sound like a simplistic project. And as someone that just graduated, I was like, oh, no problem. We can just use a database. Like some of this data, the physicians didn't have in a database. I had to actually go to offices. Everything was on paper. Some of them still had stone tablets. Like it was crazy. So that really opened up my eyes that sometimes the digital world doesn't match the actual world, even if the solution's simplistic in nature. Like we just have to put data into a database. But these individuals are taking care of patients. They already work 60, 70-hour weeks in some parts. They can't keep up with the demand. Very interesting. But that also then made me think of how we can help automate these physicians and clinicians to get the patients better care, how we can transform what's called the electronic medical record. So how can we make that more a better experience so the physicians and clinical teams actually want to use it? Uh, and then that then made me force myself to learn how to implement some of these solutions. So then I started looking at master's degrees programs. I already really had that business background. So getting an MBA like most folks do, I'm more innovative by nature. I really like the technology. Data science and analytics were really up and coming programs at that time. They still are, but they were newer when I was looking at it. And I was like, I'm just going to go get a master's degree in that and see what happens. It's an up and coming field. Every company has data. Companies may not realize it yet. This was in the past, but if they have data, they need data scientists. And this stuff's kind of cool to me. And that data science program helped me learn about the AI algorithms, how to implement them. We were given real experiential projects in that program. So I got to work with an insurance company on patient flag claiming, so determining if someone is going to get disability or not. It's very cool. I got to see the algorithms, and then that led me to my career where I landed in academia, not in teaching, but actually implementing a customer success algorithm, a student success algorithm. So flagging students at the highest risk of success or the lowest risk of success, so the college system could deploy resources to make sure the students were successful. And that project, even though it was highly technical, it was a lot of fun because that's the human side of AI that a lot of folks maybe don't get to see. But we helped more than just one student, but we helped thousands of students complete college that might not have completed it, which makes they took out debt, right? In the US, you have to take out a loan usually to go to college. They can pay back their loan easier because they can get a better job. They're actually successful. They're once you succeed at something, it's better than failing at something because one failure can lead to multiple failures over time. There's a lot of studies around that. So then that really made me consider some of the human skills I need to develop, like communication, empathy, collaboration, leadership. Those skills aren't as transparent to some data scientists because we're so technical that sometimes we technical folks lack those other skills. So it's always been continuous learning, agility. That project led me into other projects, which then led me back to academia. I was eventually promoted to the Dean of Artificial Intelligence, which is focused on upskilling and reskilling, something that I always became passionate about at that first project. And then from there, now I work in the private sector, leading a large academy to upskill a workforce of over 36,000 individuals. So I can't say I planned any of this when I was a child. My job didn't actually exist when I was a child. It's not like being a fireman or a police officer, like some individuals say, or a teacher. But I think that's kind of the beauty of upskilling and reskilling is that you're preparing yourself for something that you don't necessarily know exists.
Yeah, that's a really, really good way of putting it. Something interesting you said there that's got me thinking as well there, obviously, is that you said your job didn't exist, back then, right? And I think that's a really important consideration for people nowadays too. Like the youngsters going to university and stuff as well, a degree or a profession or a career path X amount of years ago may be completely obsolete today or in 10 years time or in 20 years time. So I don't know, seeing what you're seeing, doing the work that you're doing, what is your kind of opinion on, let's say, youngsters going into university and stuff? I mean, what do you need to consider in terms of career path, threats to that career path potentially, and just the evolving world? I mean, would you always now factor in AI and stuff? Is it that big now at that point where it could literally change just about any career path in a university format, really?
I like to back. So there's two questions here. So I think one kind of transforms education, and the other one is how does AI impact all that? So I'm going to start with the education one because that one needs to change in order for AI to change anything. But right now, you typically we kind of think of education backwards. So you kind of pick a job, or you think you have an idea of what you want for a job domain, and then you try to acquire skills to get that job. And even in elementary school, a middle school, high school, they're kind of training you for a job. Uh, they don't really explicitly say that, but they're gearing you up to be prepared for the workforce. That's what education's all about. And the workforce is changing rapidly, faster than most people can imagine. Just because AI is well versed in what we do, more people are using it, knowledge is at your fingertips. People are learning faster. People are engaging with the AI more. All these stats are true. So these things are going to just keep changing more quickly. One thing that really hasn't changed, though, since about implementation is at least in the US, is the US education model. So elementary school's a certain amount of time, middle school's a certain amount of time, high school's a certain amount of time. Everything's time. It's all time based. I think we really need to start thinking about skills. What skills are we going to be teaching? The time is a different thing. It might be bureaucracy. Maybe that will change. But at least in the higher education domain, if you can get a degree in 2 years and still get a really high paying job, or 3 years, or whatever it may take, you're learning skills. You should be able to go and do that. It will help reduce the cost of education. It's not really baked into I need to know what I need to do in order to, right? Because you're learning skills. So my skills could be applied to many different jobs. It's not really job specific. And then that will lead to more of what I call an ecosystem approach. So the workforce will be able to obtain workers more quickly because they can be produced more quickly, instead of waiting that time period at graduation, right? Right. Like now you have that continual ecosystem. Learning can happen at work, which does happen, but it doesn't happen as naturally as in academia, which is why the workforce leans into academia to get its future employees. So learning at work could be taking on extra projects. So for example, like in data science, there's usually like a project manager. I could take on some project management tasks. The project manager would still be there, but they're coaching me, similar to like a faculty member would in a college setting. That's me learning skills. Over time, maybe I can take on bigger projects. Maybe I can lead a project. I can still be coached. There's still value for that project manager. They're still the expert. But by having a self-forming team, being able to do that, that's something I'm not going to get in academia. But this type of environment that I'm explaining might sound fictional, but it's happening more and more just because education's taking too long, it's too expensive. Individuals our age have other life, I guess, choices. Do we buy a house? Do we get married? Do we
Mm.
put in all this money into education? And then to answer your question about the AI component, so now education's over here. That's very complex. There's a whole complexity around AI. So yes, I mean, I can't sit here and say that AI is not going to impact specific jobs. We already know it's going to impact specific jobs. Customer service is going to be impacted. Entry level coding is probably going to be impacted. I think we're starting to see early graduate jobs being impacted, but there's a whole bunch of other economic complexities that are probably impacting that. So it's not just AI, but there is impact around it. And that's because AI can do a lot of things, right? It can automate, it can code, it can be personalized, and companies are rushing towards it. So some jobs are going to go away. Most jobs are going to be augmented by it. So think about, back to digital media, social media, right? You can do so instead of SEO, AEO, right? So search engine optimization, AO optimization, right? So does your company show up in any of the AI tools? And does it show up first? So AI recommends, right? Like it gets to know me, and based upon my interests, it recommends. So I believe you said you own a gym, right?
Yeah.
If I'm looking for a gym in your area, does AI recommend that to me? Because if I'm in AI and not using Google, guess what? I'm going to go to what AI recommends me to do. and that's a concept that a lot of individuals, it flies right, but it's a skill, right? So how do you get AI to recognize? Well, you gotta make sure that folks are prompting it with your business. You have to make sure that your website's set up for the AI. Um, and that's just one job that changes, right? I can keep naming naming all these jobs that are going to change. Project management is another one. Accounting is another job. AI is great at numbers. AI is great at automating tasks. So you have to learn how to use the AI to e- eventually manage the AI teams, right? Like AI, we're going to have AI agents in our work hierarchy. So you're going to be a manager of people and AI. And I don't, that sounds very futuristic, but there's some companies that already have this. So it's not as sci-fi as people realize. And those are all skills that you need to do. Like, what is an AI agent? How does it operate? How do I prompt it? How do I make sure that, it's, I don't want to say risk-free, but reduced risk, right?
Yeah,
How do my employees interact with it? My human employees, right?
absolutely. Such good points, Seb. I think the point you made there about SEO versus AEO is really important as well. And that's something I know that I've been doing, but I didn't actually realize there was an actual term for that exactly. But you're so right. I mean, people need to consider that. I mean, when you go on Google and you search for stuff nowadays, the first thing you get isn't, the sponsored results. You don't get the, Google My Business page. You get that AI synopsis first thing at the very top of the page, right? What is that saying? It's such a good point. When you search your name or your company's name and stuff, what is it coming out with? And then that comes down to, again, you got to feed the information box, right? So that it knows what you want it to know as well. So that's, good press, good PR, good blog post, website, lots of information, lots of social media and stuff. And then you're feeding it that info. And then that's what it's going to regurgitate out to people who then go look for it, right? So any other tips there in terms of kind of like maximizing that and getting ahead of the curve in terms of what AI is going to say about you and your company in future? Any things that are going to be,
It's
I don't know, what's the priority list in terms of that sort of stuff?
it's not even really my personal opinion. It's not even really about a company or a small business. It's about you.
Mm.
So if you're not on LinkedIn, I recommend it. It's the easiest way to create a website for yourself. You can fill in your skills. You can make some blog posts. You can post to LinkedIn for free. It doesn't take much effort. And then those posts and those, especially blog posts from LinkedIn, will show up in the AI. So now it's starting to recognize you. If you want a little bit higher level, I guess, order tasks, is that you can create external blog posts from LinkedIn, a website. You can design a website, make sure it's set up for AI. So there's more of a hierarchy to it. You have unique pages, your SEO set up good because SEO still does matter with AI optimization. Outside of that, all your posts on social media, like if you don't want it there, make sure you don't. I mean, it's more risky than ever because AI can just grab it and it will remember it. Like once it's trained on it, it doesn't like it didn't really go away before, but definitely may not go away now.
Yeah,
So there's a
definitely.
lot of information there, but I just want to get folks to start to think about podcasts, right? Like that's another way. All this conversation will become text, right? In a transcript somewhere.
Yeah.
AI digests this transcript. Now you're in a database.
Very, very, very good points and a lot to consider there. So let's talk about your work more then. So you've worked extensively on responsible AI adoption. How do you define exactly what responsible AI is then, Ben? So what are the key considerations organizations must keep in mind to ensure AI benefits society rather than harms it?
This is the non-technical definition. I like to really call it what not to do with AI. It's there's much more to it. It's really how you balance what's called bias and fairness. So, uh, for example, let's pretend we're purchasing, it doesn't really matter where you are in a department or an organization, but let's pretend we're purchasing an AI algorithm. How do we know that that algorithm performs the same for the people interacting with it? That it's not causing organizational bias. So it's not just pointing your customer in one direction to one product or um, It's not providing information that may be somewhat accurate. And then fairness is, do all customers have access to this? So for AI search, for example, anytime someone uses Google, that comes up. You have to actually shut off that feature for it not to work. That could be a responsible AI mechanism at Google for fairness, right? Like it's enabled for everybody, not just 6 people have that feature. I'm pretty sure everybody has it. I could be misspeaking, but I'm pretty sure it's a turned on feature for everyone at this point. My point there is the bias and the fairness has to level out. And if it doesn't level out, you have to have a way to test the AI in your organization or for yourself to make it more level. So how do you test fairness? Well, if I have access to it and some other department doesn't, right? That's not necessarily, are we thinking about that? And if that other department doesn't have access to it, why? Can we give a solid why? So maybe I don't need HR data, only the HR department does, but that data is in the AI. Does the AI need the data? Is that fair? Bias is a couple different ways to define it, but bias could mean that AI gives us an output that isn't entirely accurate. It could be somewhat accurate, but it's not 100%. So maybe it gives us an old policy when we search it. Maybe it leaks some of the HR data, but not the confidential data. But you can kind of piece it together enough where you can fill in the blanks. So responsible AI helps some of those goof-proof ideas. Now, I realize that this might be a blah 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 for some people, and that's totally okay. But real life example, a deep fake. There was a deep fake of U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. That deep fake had a video image. The voice and the video image was a little off, and but they're getting better. But the voice sounded almost exactly like Marco Rubio, and this voice was calling other world leaders, making demands that weren't really disclosed, and that could potentially do a lot of harm, right? And the Secretary of State and the U.S. government's like pretty high up there in the organizations of government. So what if a bad actor decides to mimic the vice president? Worse, the president. Like they have capabilities that a lot of folks don't have capabilities to. And the AI is getting better. This isn't far-fetched. I mean, that's why they're trying these deep fakes out so they can see how much information they can steal and get away with. That's a use of what not to do with AI. How do we spot those deep fakes? Should companies start labeling? That way, when a bad actor makes one of these AI images or 3D individuals, there's clear distinction that it's not real. Like, is there a limit to this? Those are ethical questions that I can't really answer, but responsible AI, ethical AI, that's where this all feeds into. When I'm using ChatGPT or when I'm using Gemini or Claude or any tool, do you put in your tax information? Some people when you're using H&R Block, they're using some model. I don't know if it's customized or they purchase it, but that's going into a database. Are you engaging with it? I think folks are just going out there and looking at this as another tool, but there's high. It's much riskier than people realize. The
That is
only way these models get better is by training on data.
It is a really interesting one. I don't know. I mean, it's difficult for people to wrap their heads around all of this all in one go, but I think it would be quite important to give people a bit of a sense of, what is the basic checklist mentally that you should go through when engaging with an AI platform. What would be, in your opinion, as someone in the workforce or a company or even just yourself using ChatGPT or whatever it might be, what are those real basic things that you should be asking yourself before you engage or while you're engaging with this thing? Like, in terms of oversharing or data or GDPR. I mean, what are some of those real basics that you think people are going to be massively overlooking or just not even considering? Because it's on your phone, it's an app and talks back to you and it personalizes and it feels like it's contained within your phone, right? But it's not. So what are the dangers there? What is the basic checklist for getting this thing right and keeping yourself and your company safe?
Why are we using it? How are we using it? What are we using it for? When do we use it? So some of those examples, right? Um, Automation versus AI. So people get this confused, but let's just take a simple email and let's pretend you set up a rule in your email account to put something automatically into delete folder. Let's pretend you get a spam or something and you don't want it there. Technically, AI can do that, but do you need AI to give AI access to your email to do the same function that doesn't give the AI the access? It it's a click of a button. I mean, for me, I could just set up the automation. I don't really need AI for that. Uh, who's impacted? So if this is, I mean, this is just a simple email, but if an email gets leaked from the CEO or from HR, do we have a response team around that? If I put in my information into the AI, am I okay with that being leaked or trained on or whatever the case may be? Because if someone else queries something and that information shows up in their output, am I okay
Yeah.
with it? And those are the basics for me. So if you can't even answer the why are we using AI, then AI might not be the solution you're looking for. And I'm very pro AI. I'm very into it. I use it a lot, but sometimes it might not be the best way to do it. Uh, and kind of this isn't directly related to your question, but kind of off on a tangent. How are we training our employees on AI? A lot of companies have, I would call shaky or fluffy, like, is this mandated? Is it in a responsible AI policy? What skills are we actually trying to train our employees on? When do they need to learn these skills by? Is learning these skills in their actual annual performance. Those are very important things to consider that won't impact your AI implementation. If anything, it will help accelerate it.
There we go. And that leads me really well to our next question then. So, leading a data and AI academy that upskills tens of thousands of employees is obviously no small feat, Ben. What are the biggest challenges you face in preparing the workforce for AI, and what strategies have proven most effective in helping people adapt and thrive alongside AI? So, in short, how's this all going?
I think with AI, a lot of individuals think it's way more complex than it actually is. Even our conversation here, I think a lot of folks are scared of AI. It might take their job. What if I'm the person that gets the information leaked? Like maybe I just won't use it in that case. It's a little scary for me. How should I be using the AI? Some people just treat it like a search engine, and there's certain ways to interact with the AI. Um, what tools are allowed? What tools aren't allowed? All those questions go into this upskilling plan. So you have to make sure that you're meeting the employees where they're at. So we don't need, if they don't need to know about the advanced AI, maybe we don't teach them about that. Maybe we just teach them basic prompt engineering. Some of these individuals are very advanced and some are not. So everybody's at a different level. And I think when you're developing an upskilling plan, you have to, this goes back to transparency and fairness. We have to enable AI across the organization, but AI might look different for each person in that organization. The way I use AI might be different than how the CEO uses AI, but the risks in those two use cases are probably the same. So you have to make sure that you're covering not just different use cases, but bringing it back to risk and making sure that you're baking in the responsible AI policy. It usually works a little bit better too, because just having a standalone policy without much training behind it, people might view that as boring. They might not view it as relatable. They just might view it as another policy. But by putting it in the training, not super hammering it, but just making sure that people are aware of the risks, you can even make it fun or as fun as you can. Um, you're connecting all these different facts without overloading an individual and turning them off on AI. You're really helping them embrace it. The other thing I'm learning is that culture change takes a very long time. So I thought that, and maybe this is naive because I love AI so much, and it helps automate some parts of my life, and it's helped me create workouts for myself. It's helped me do dietary plans. It's not all work. I thought, this is a no-brainer. Everybody's going to love this. And it's not the case. There's more negative news on AI than positive news. And it's probably intentional. But that news then kind of disables the usage and actually makes it more risky, because if people aren't using it and you just turn on the lights to an application, they're not going to know how to interact with it. So you have to be able to create the narrative that, we're not trying to replace every single person with robots. We're trying to make your life better. These offerings are optional. Please attend if you can. You don't have to attend, like you don't have to miss anything to attend. They'll be recorded. And then link them back to skills. Make sure that it's part of a learning plan. So I think that we're so focused on the AI that we're not sometimes thinking about the skills, or at least organizations aren't. So this offering, this training, whatever you want to call it, is going to cover prompt engineering, responsible AI, AI fundamentals. Those are clear skills. Next set of skills, right? Like, and you can have separate offerings with different skills, but then employees can have something to take away and add those skills over time to either their internal tracking or their resume. And it's more clear. Like, I think corporate training sometimes is like mandatory. We have to, right? And then once you throw AI into that, people like associate it with some of the other trainings, right? Like, do I really need to do it? Are we sure? And I think it's one of the more important trainings we need to do.
Definitely. Where do you begin with that then? I mean, in terms of finding the right person or getting people on board with that, or be a company that's out of it or zero, then going to 100 in AI, let's say. What's the right place to start with that then? How do you get into it? How do you encourage people to use it? And I guess another consideration as well is that, if you have a workforce, or, a staff team that's 50% in and 50% out, you're then going to have this potential issue, depending on your industry, where 50% of them who are in are probably getting a lot more work done quickly and probably more efficiently, versus the other 50% who are then, traditional, slower, more methodical, but maybe not getting quite as much progress in each day. And whether you like it or not, as an employer, you're probably going to favor the 50% who are getting more done, right? So what do you do in situations like that as well? How do you ensure fairness there and keep people who don't want to be part of that so much, or have a preference against it, from being left behind essentially, or losing jobs potentially to people who are working quicker with tools that are allowing them to do that?
This is where the human skills become super gold. It's gold, because if you're too technical and you're just thinking about AI from that point of view, you're gonna miss, to your point, you're gonna miss 50% of the people. But the way I like to approach this is I like to learn, because you have to think of AI as a system anyways, is that I try to meet with as many different people and as many different departments that want to meet with me. And I actually don't even go in talking about AI. I learn a system or a process and see what they do. And then I go away. I thank them. I go away because people love doing show and shares. They love it. I go away and then I try to replicate a system and a basic AI tool. And then I go back and show them what the AI can help them with, and people love it. Uh, for example, a simple prompt framework. There's many of them out there. Our organization has our own. That prompt framework helps not only individuals understand and remember the importance of prompting, but by having individuals do it more and more over time, it's training the AI to recognize when it's being used. So a universal prompt framework is an excellent way to start, but you have to be able to apply it to the employees. So if I'm talking to a project manager, there might be some templates that can be filled in, but you have to get them there. So you have to show them how it's done. If people make slides all the time, AI is great at doing that. Sometimes you need to still put in some effort, but it will get the text and some of the images, right? That saves time, right? So it's not like, let's go teach everyone neural networks. Let's teach them how to amplify themselves in their job, and then they'll go tell all their friends, and then they'll tell, right? Like, and then eventually over time, we'll have 500, 600, 700 people all on a workshop learning AI together. And so it's slow, but that's the change management. And it's honestly probably faster. It like might seem slow, but it's faster because you're trying to get as many people on board. And then those will be your advocates. You can have communities of practice after that. Those communities of practice, right? You can do inverse trainings like, okay, this is how this department's using AI. Come learn, right? Like people love learning can be fun. It doesn't have to be a formal PhD program. We can make it as easy or as hard as we want it to be.
And how's the response been around that then, out of interest? I mean, what trends are you seeing there? And also, just out of my own curiosity too, demographically, age range and stuff, any interesting insights there with people who are kind of taking to this a lot better? I mean, is it completely in the younger generation, or is the older generation also on with this?
Once you can show an individual or group of individuals something that they don't really like to do that AI can do for them significantly faster, I have seen doors blow open for other trainings, and they're like, what else can AI do for me? They weren't even thinking that AI could do some of these tasks. They didn't even know. And it might sound like really simplistic, but by alleviating one of those tests, you're really solving a problem for a person. And then once you can solve a problem, they want more problems solved. And then they'll go tell other, like, did you know we can fill in this template just by using standard prompting and using our own large language models? Oh, I didn't even know we had access to that. Like, show me how, right? Like, and then other people start training one another. So it's not really an age thing. It's really understanding, or not even a demographic thing either. I'm seeing, I mean, there might be some resistance there, but if we can help alleviate a problem, then we're doing our job. And we try to make it as fun as possible, so we don't have to have 10-hour boring courses. We're making it applied. We're actually in the tools. We're not having the salespeople come in and do the training. It's very specific to the organization. It's right, like it's a product. It's adaptable. It's
Yeah,
flexible.
absolutely. So looking ahead then, if we go into that bit about this then. So I think a few different questions really there to mash into one. But first of all, AI and the next decade, any big things that you're
Mm,
expecting to see
that's a
and
fun one.
shift there? It is going to be a fun one. And then beyond that as well, I know we kind of like already tapped into a bit of like the younger generation and, university degrees and stuff. But, beyond just degrees and career paths, essential learning, right? I mean, what are some of those big ones that you think skill wise, resource wise, the youngsters should be getting in on now, just to even learn the curriculum around it, prompting. So, if you're a youngster, you're going to uni, you're not part of a massive corporation that's, doing trainings for people and stuff, where do you go to find your training? I guess do you use AI to train you? I mean, when's that going to come into place? Few questions there, but it's all about the future. So, future for the youngsters, what they should be doing now, and also the next decade in AI. Any insights there, Ben?
Sure. So in the next 10 years, so AI is getting better. I've said this a couple of times, but just to repeat, it usually gets better every 2 days. So in 10 years, I don't know what that exponential curve is, but it's going to be really good. And I think just within the next 5 years, we're probably going to see some form of physical AI. So physical AI is cars that drive themselves, more autonomous robots in factories, AI that can complete manual tasks for you. So that's a good definition of a physical AI. We're also going to see probably a good use of quantum AI, but I think that one's a little bit more shaky. But quantum AI is more advanced artificial intelligence. It's very deep learning, but quantum AI can help discover, for example, subatomic atoms that humans can't necessarily discover, or pharmaceuticals, or taking different drugs and combining them to see what the output may be. There's a lot of good use cases for quantum AI. And then there's explainable AI. And explainable AI can help speed up research. It's really good. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's explainable, but it goes into a very big depth. Think about it like having a PhD on your staff. all the time. Like it will take step by step to a process. Companies are going to love it once it solidifies more than what it is. And those are all going to happen in different stages. There's going to be levels of governance that probably need to happen. So how much of driving can happen, for example, by a car versus a human? Does a follow-up question to that is, do we need steering wheels in cars still if we've got good enough physical AI? Yes, probably. I would say yes, but those are some of the debates that might happen. If quantum AI can make a lot of discoveries, when do you accept the discovery or not? Some of these discoveries are going to be beyond human comprehension. Like it's hard to imagine, but some of that is true. It's supercomputing technically. Generative AI is going to get better. So my point is that during this, we're still going to be in that between period, I think, in the 10 years, because we're still not going to have this all figured out. But there's going to be a lot of offshoots in these investments. There's going to eventually be some winners and probably some losers. And we're going to solidify what these different types of AI look like. We're going to define it, the governance structure around it. And then I think at the end of that 10-year mark, we'll probably be closer to that AI times. But how does it impact the economy? What are we going to do about the jobs? All of those things I think are kind of being afterthought right now, but I'm hoping that folks start to think about that now. So when that 10 years comes by, we're kind of ready to go as a society, because the change is going to happen so quickly, people aren't even going to realize what changed.
Definitely. Good insights, Ben. And another important future that we need to touch on quickly as well is, what are you going to do over the next decade? So what's your career looking like? Any exciting work you've got planned? Where do you see yourself fitting into this rapidly evolving space?
Well, you did ask another question about degrees and education, correct?
Absolutely.
Well,
Yes.
I didn't answer that. So degrees in education, I think they're still going to be highly relevant. Some degrees I don't think can go away just because they're attached, they're qualifications for jobs. So like a medical doctor in the US has to have a medical degree and a certain number of training. That's probably not going to change in 10 years, but who knows? But in other industries like academia, I think AI is going to help make degrees more affordable. Uh, it's going to help drive down costs eventually, because if you have AI in the classroom, you can take on more students. You'll still have a person there as an expert teaching you, but you'll have a 24/7 tutor. It'll become more personalized. People will become more engaged with it. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Re-emphasizing the skills, I think we're going to start to think about more skills-based education versus just degrees. The skills are just as important as the degrees, maybe even more relevant, because a degree, typically the skills you learn with it last 5 years shelf life on average. So if I go learn a coding language, that coding language will probably stay relevant for 5 years. With AI and all these different forms of it, I would say skills will probably last 2 years. So you really need that continual learning environment to be able to keep up with the changes. It's just something folks are gonna have to get used to. It's not gonna slow down, I promise.
Definitely not. I'm completely agreed there. Which then leads us to that question then. So how are you going to fit into all of that? I mean, it's clear that you're embedded within the space. I mean, but the space is changing all the time. So I don't know. How do you see yourself going in the next decade as well with all of this? Any big things that you want to have impact on?
I really enjoyed I've always been an educator. I think it's challenging for me, but it's also such a nice thing to be able to say, see a student 10 years from now and they're a CEO of a company or something. Like it's fantastic. It's a really great career path. And I think with the AI revolution, and me liking the technology, that's really the pathway for me, whether that's workforce, academia, both. I think all these worlds are colliding. I'm kind of in the right place by accident at the right time. So it's developing those skills pathways. It's helping organizations define those skills. It's making sure that the skills then link back to traditional academic programs, because again, I don't think those are going away. And then staying relevant with it all. I think there's going to be so many different types of AI that it's going to be hard to do, like physical AI. Like,
Mm.
how do you learn that if you don't have access to it, right? It's a responsible AI question, but that's a societal question too. But figuring out how to get access to that so I not only can teach it but stay relevant in it, or is probably what the next 10 years for me is going to look like.
I like it. Well, Ben, that is the 4 questions then. So why don't we go straight out of that and we go straight into where we can find more about you then. So if we go into what we call like the shameless plug moment now, just a little bit of a space for people to get in touch with you, find out more about you, follow along this journey that you've been on and are continuing to go on, just everything like that. And beyond that as well, just anything that you kind of really believe in as well, just anything that people should go and look at or just essential reading. I don't know. Floor's yours. Take it away. Show our people where to go.
Thank you. Yes. So you can find me at bentasperai.com. You can connect with me out on LinkedIn. I'm very easily reached either way. I have Instagram. You can follow me there. I usually post some tips and tricks with AI on those social media platforms. There's a bunch of learning videos on my website. LinkedIn, I post shorts about the podcast that I've been on, like this one. This one's great. So reach out through any of those mediums. Also, invest in yourself. Take some time to learn how to prompt engineer. Take time to build your personal brand. I know that building a personal brand might be scary and folks may not know how to do that. You don't have to start with a website. Make sure you have a really good LinkedIn. Make sure that you have maybe a blog post on LinkedIn. Start small. But that then leads into my next call to action. Create a learning plan for yourself. Physically sit down, write down 3 skills like prompt engineering, being more empathetic, leadership, whatever those skills that you think you lack, you need to learn, and then think of a way to go learn it. It doesn't have to be a course. So an easy way to go learn AI for me is that one of the first ways I used it was actually to plan a vacation. So it booked all my flights. It told me where to go. It made my itinerary. It's even better now than it was then. That's a really fun way to learn and trust it, and then to get involved with it, and then you'll start to use it for other things. So yeah, that's what you should do.
Great stuff, Ben. Absolutely love it, mate. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Talk4 podcast. Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today. And honestly, some great insights there. Really interesting conversation. And I feel like I've learned a whole lot, and I'm sure everyone else has done too. So thank you for your time. And I can't wait to see what you do. It's going to be really exciting, that's for sure.
Thanks for having me, Louis. Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I hope it was for you. And I hope it was for the guys listening in too. Episode 173. If you'd like to listen to the past episodes, go and have a look at the channel. And if you'd like to listen in for the future ones as well, make sure to hit that subscribe button, spread some love by leaving a like and a comment. Check out those links in the description. See you in the next one. Cheers. Good night.